Hi, I'm going to show you how I weave a web to bring in the things that I want in my life. And it's kind of like a form of meditation, natural art, and witchcraft. It's definitely witchcraft. So if any of those appeal to you, or if all three of them do, please try it. The first thing you're going to need is a reason why to sit and spend like maybe 30 minutes just like putting string onto something. So the reason for me right now is that I really want to give what I have to give, and I really want to connect with the people who will support me in that. And I really want to feel powerful. I want to feel like my will is happening and is going to happen in the world. So those are the three things that I'm really wanting. And I've been talking to people who have had exactly those same things coming up, those same desires rising. So I feel like now is a time where people are in that groove, and I want to. It's like a perfect reason to make a web, because when you think of a spider, like a spider doesn't just like hang out at the top of a blade of grass with its mouth open, just hoping like a fly will just like go directly in this one spot. A spider casts a giant web to catch anything that's flying through. So when you want like to bring in things in a broader, more encompassing way, a physical web can create that larger web, that intangible, magical web in your actual lived life. So yeah, if you have your reason, then the next thing you need is something to weave onto. So I have this gigantic like V-shaped branch that I found just like this in Prospect Park in Brooklyn. But you can use anything. Like you can use an empty picture frame. You can use the back of a chair that is like open in the middle. You could use like I don't know. You just be creative. Just pick up what you have lying around if you don't feel like going out and like putting time into it. You don't have to do that. The next thing is string. Okay, you can use whatever. Please don't go to the store and buy this quantity of string. It's a mistake. But like use whatever, dental floss, ribbon, whatever you have lying around. And then the last thing you need is little scissors. So get your scissors and just cut like a really long string, like the longest string you can deal with. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create those three things that I wanted as my axes for my web. So I'll show you what that means. The first thing I wanted was short-term memory. Kick in, please. It was to give what I have to give. So, focusing on that, I'm going to tie this string here. And then I'm going to cross it and create this firm axis for giving what I have to give. I'm going to double knot because I want these to be really, really strong and I don't want them to move. These are like my foundation. So whatever that is for you, you want it to be really strong and you want it to be secure. And then I'm going to cut the slack. And then my next axis is, so you see that? connecting with the people who will support me in that. So I'm going to tie that one here. And you kind of don't have to like think too hard about these choices. The whole point is to be in a state where you're focusing on them kind of softly. And then you're just letting your hands, your body, your mind, your eyes, all that stuff just kind of move easily, softly, without straining. Because that's the kind of state you want to be in. Softened, but focused. And not trying too hard. That's the state you want to be in when you're doing this, when you're weaving your web. And then I'm going to tie it down here. So I'm going to show you how I do that because it's a little tricky. I'm going to wrap it around my hand and use my hand to keep it firm. And then once it's there, I'm going to double knot it. Anyway, it's not like, you know, it's not rocket science. It's web design. And then I'm going to double knot that one too. So that's my axis for connecting with people who are going to support me in giving what I have to give. So that could be anyone really. Then I'm going to cut that one off. Oh, you can't see. Okay. Come on. And then I'm going to make another axis this way. So I'm going to start up here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, by the way. Never has to be perfect. And I'm going to tie it down here. And I'm like really not trying very hard. I'm just doing it. All right. The nice thing about working this way is that like it's physically tactile and you're using your hands are touching like natural things. It feels so good. It's so much nicer than like, I mean, in a way it's comforting to hold your phone and touch screens. Like in a way it's comforting, but touching this is so comforting. So I like totally encourage using natural materials if you can find some. Okay. So I'm going to cut this one off. And now, you see what I have? I have like this triangle in the middle. I'm going to find the center. So that's like symbolically important, okay? Because when you have, sometimes we think of life as a journey where you're like going forward into complete unknowns. And sometimes that's how it feels. But there's another way of conceptualizing the life journey, which is that if you know, if you kind of know, like for example, where you want to center yourself, then you can just create that center as the focal point and be there. You can be like, you know what, where I want to go is the center of these three things. I want to be sitting right in the middle of giving all I have to give, connecting with the people who are going to support me in that, and feeling really powerful. I want like a cushy spot right at the center of those three things. So that's where I am. And that's where I'm going. So now I have my string and it's at the center. And the first thing I'm going to do is take the tiniest little step with my string and wrap it around the closest thread. Whoa. wrap it around this closest thread. And then the next thing, and I'm going to wrap it around like one more time. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is go to the next closest thread. So this first thread, yeah, I'm just going to go to the next closest thread and wrap around one more time, like that. And then I'm going to go to the next closest thread, and I'm just going to take, again, like the teeniest, tiniest step. And I'm staying really, really close to the center. There. And then, again, the very tiniest step. The very tiniest next step. So I'm wrapping it around so that it kind of like hooks onto each thread. I'm wrapping it around the back, okay, to the front, and then again, wrapping it around the back and to the front on that same axis. That was the axis, that was the first axis I wanted to give everything I have to give. This one is, well, it doesn't, well, you can kind of like think about each axis as you move. You're like, okay, giving all I have to give, connecting with the people who will support me in that, and feeling powerful. And the next one again, connecting, oh, what is it? Giving what I have to give, connecting with the people who will support me in that, and feeling powerful. And the nice thing about a web is that you start at the very, very center, which is really comforting. If you think about like actually being really centered in your life and what you want, that's very comforting. And then as you move, you just take like the smallest steps, and you still stay really, really close to the center. For example, I'm not like jumping out to here, you know? I'm not taking like gigantic leaps. And when you're growing in your life, like you don't have to take those gigantic leaps. You can just take the next largest step, which can still be a tiny, tiny step. And that is exactly what we're doing. And you've seen spider webs. You know what they're like. They're like totally filled in and they're totally miraculous. And that is all achieved by taking tiny steps and the next largest step that's still like really, really small. And you take steps like that one at a time, and eventually you're going to have this filled in gigantic web. And so it's a real meditation on patience and letting it be slow and letting it be step by step and letting it be small and not feeling like everything has to be like here all at once, because it doesn't. It can be incremental and it can be slow, and you can actually find comfort in going slowly step by step, because that's how you know you're secure. Even if you think about an actual spider on a web, the center is the most secure spot, I think. I haven't actually spoken to any spiders, although I really wish I could. It makes me think of the ancient Greek myth about spiders. Arachne was a woman who was a really just like superb weaver, and I think there was a contest in Athens maybe, and she was so good, and like I think Athena entered the contest disguised as a human, if I can remember. I learned this story in 4th grade, but Arachne beat her, and Athena was like not having it, and so she just turned her into a spider. But like, it's pretty awesome. So part of like the mythology of weaving a web is that it's really How do I say this? It's somewhere between human and divine because it's part of the natural world that we also can understand innately. Like, it's beautiful to look at, and it also means something to us. A web is a way of catching what you want in life, what you need, your actual sustenance. So it means something to us as humans. And we can totally weave webs. Like, it's really, I don't know if you can see this yet, but it's really satisfying, just this tiny little web so far. And here's how it looks from the back. So I'm just going to keep doing this. And what I'm going to do is now, instead of wrapping once around an axis, I'm going to wrap 3 times. And that's going to start spreading my threads apart more 3 times. So that's a little bit trickier to do, but it will get me there faster. Now that the center is like pretty locked down, I'm going to do that. And I want to talk for a second about what I refer to as witchcraft, because I know it's got a lot of meanings, that word, and it probably means different things to everybody. I think I consider this to be witchcraft because I'm using my natural energy to focus on and call in what I want. And I'm using my actual will to influence the universal will. And I think that's really the fundamental attribute of divinity. I looked up the etymology of the word God, and it comes from the root word that means that which is invoked. So whenever you invoke something, that's kind of I don't know, I think of that as witchcraft. So here I'm really invoking those 3 things that I want. I want to give what I have to give. And I want to connect with the people who will support me in that. And I want to feel powerful. I really do. And I've gotten a taste of those things. And I want more. So this is me invoking that and using my energies, my time, my focus, my hands, my eyes, my fingertips, my agility, my thought, my patience, my Friday, my phone battery, my room, my light, my will, myself to do that. I'm using all of these parts of myself to invoke what I want. And I think that works. That has a natural effect that works. And I think in that way we do blend the human and the divine. If you want to call it divine. It's also human stuff. So now you can start to see what's happening differently now that I'm doing the 3 little wraps around. I hope you can see. If not, just experiment. I did not watch a YouTube video to figure out how to do this. I just started tying string onto branches. Feel free to do it your way. It's your web. If you have any inclinations, if you have any impulses or intuitions, go with them. Please don't just privilege what I'm telling you to do. Privilege what your intuition tells you. I think I'm going to go to 5 now. 2, 3, 5. And that's going to start spacing them out a little more. You can also, if you find it hard to work with your fingers, you can use a crochet hook. But I think it's really nice to use your fingers because it's another thing for them to do. Like, I spend so much time on a computer or on a phone that my hands, like, that's what they do most of the time, and that's kind of a crime. And this helps me, like, feel like my hand. I don't know, I think this is just good for your hands. It's good. It's good for them. Let your hands do it. If you don't need to use a tool to do it, don't. It's, like, super good for you. Yeah, and also, like, this is the kind of thing that is really nice when the weather is nice to go do outside, like, in a natural environment like a park. If you can just go there with some string and scissors and, like, some, you know, and just find some branches. You don't have to find a branch that is exactly like this where it lets you really easily map a web out, because it's so hard to find branches like this. I mean, I don't know. But you can also, like, if you find 3 or 4 other branches, you can just, like, twigs, you know, like strong ones, you can just tie them together into a triangle or a square, tie the corners, and then just weave onto that. And the things the things you want to catch, like, I mean, I'm focused on things that I want for myself because I'm, like, self-centered in that nice way. But if you have things that you want for the world too, like, that's something that's definitely worth calling in and invoking. And if your web is something that you want for the world, then you might consider weaving your web somewhere out in the world so that it has that presence too. So it's not just a private thing. So I've been doing this for a little while now, and already I just feel kind of, like, hypnotized by the shape and by the action. It's a lot of spinning, it's a lot of spiraling. And spirals are how nature grows. That's the shape of growth in nature. A spiral is also how nature maintains balance while moving. So if you're moving and shaking and you want to stay balanced, you might consider spiraling. There are upward spirals, downward spirals. You can spiral inward to the innermost parts of you. You can spiral outward, out into the world. There are lots and lots of ways of using a spiral as a kind of metaphor for your life journey. So you can see it's starting to get there. Meow. I'm a web. And the real power of it is that this whole time I am focusing on the things that I want, and I'm letting my mind get out of the way by giving it something to do. And that's when we allow the most powerful things to happen, is when we kind of get out of our own way. If we're clear on what we want and we kind of get out of the way, the results can be really, 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 really powerful. The next thing I'm going to do, see, I got to the end of my thread, so I'm going to get another long piece and cut it. And I'm just going to tie it one end to the other end. Alright, I'm going to double knot it because I want this to be really strong. Sometimes I don't knot. Like I weave on branches kind of a lot, I guess. And sometimes I don't knot it because I want the flexibility. I want like the parts to always be able to move. That's just like the philosophy of what I'm looking for at that time. But at this time, I really, really, really want structure and stability, and I want stuff locked down. So I'm knotting stuff to keep it in place because I really want it where I set it. That's part of the power I want to feel. Another thing is I have 3 axes, and so the shape I'm getting is a hexagon, which is a 6-sided shape. And the number 6 is a symbol of structure, order, and systems. Like if you think of honeycomb in a beehive, it's a shape that can stack endlessly. It can tile endlessly with itself, and so in nature, that's what it represents is structure, order, and systems, and that's also from sacred geometry, which is something that the ancient Greeks practiced, and it was like a matter of like a philosophy where the numbers, especially the numbers like 1 to 10 and 0 also, represented actual like principles of life and nature and science, and you can see it in math and architecture and art. You can see it in natural world and biology. The number 6 and the hexagon are all about structure. So that's part of why I picked 3 axes, so that I would get a 6-sided shape and it would invoke structure. So another thing you could do if you really want materialization, if you really want like matter, like substance, you want like stuff to come into physical form, you could work with a square, a 4-sided shape. If you really want regeneration, you want like regrowth, renewal, you could work with a pentagon, a 5-sided shape. If you want just pure creation, you can work with a triangle, 3-sided. And if you want like, if you want a complete miracle, just like the completely unexpected, if you want like the thing that you would never even think to ask for, you could do a 7-sided shape, heptagon or septagon? Heptagon. 7 is like the number of kind of like the wrench in the system, just the completely unplanned for thing. But I really, at this point, I'm like, I know what I want, and I just want it in structure, and like, ooh, I got all knotted and stuff. Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna go with it. So I have this like knot here. I'm just gonna keep it there, and I'm gonna use it as a way of moving this out further. And also got like knotted over here. So I'm just gonna open that. That's pretty good. There's also, that's another thing. So there's I don't know, I like mythology. I'm a nerd. There's a lot of folklore where it's focused on like the need for untangling. And there's a lot of like folklore stories across different folklore traditions where like a woman will go to a house or for some reason, you know, like maybe to inquire about marrying the son, you know, whatever, and the mother will present her with like her sewing bag where all the strings are really, really knotted and tangled, and she's like, oh, can you help me, you know, untangle this? And then the young woman is like, okay, and she just gets really, really diligent about it, and she hunkers down and freaking does it. She just like untangles all of that stuff, and it just takes time and focus and dedication, and she does it, and then she's always like rewarded with a very good marriage. which, you know, is a reflection of the times in which these stories were told. But I think that there's something really sweet about untangling. And when you feel like you have untangled something, you know, like when it feels clear to you finally, that's such a relief. And I think that's the great time to make a web, is when you are untangled and you have your string and you know. So, you know, if that's where you are now, celebrate it, because it takes time to get there. Here's where I am now. The longer I'm doing this, the more I'm loving it. I don't know. I know, like, it seemed, even today for me, and I was like, making the video will be productive, but I was like, really? Oh, am I going to really spend like 30 minutes weaving on a branch, making a web? And I was like, yeah, I am. But I wasn't as sold on it as I am right now, where I'm like, oh, this is the best thing I could be doing with my time. It really is. I feel like kind of like I'm playing a harp. It just feels really nice to touch these strings. I'm actually really happy with how it's coming out. And I'm enjoying the time where, like, this time, like, putting first the magic of focusing on and identifying and invoking what I really want. And that feels really good to actually say, like, that's, like, first and foremost today. And I think it's hilarious that it's really hard to take 30 minutes to do something you want to do. I know, like, all of these breathing exercises that I could do first thing in the morning. I've been practicing Tai Chi and Kundalini Yoga, and they've been so good for me. And every morning I'm like, or every day that I do it, I'm like, oh, I should really do this in the mornings. Start my day with that, and I never do. I mean, it's hard sometimes to, like, prioritize doing the things we want, but, you know, it just takes, like, deciding differently at any given moment. Just being like, you know what, no, I'm just going to do it. Yes, I'm just going to do it. Like, that just changed for me. And then, like, I feel like right now, once I started doing it, I'm totally sold on it. I'm like, yes, of course I should have done this. This is, of course, the best use of my time. So, yeah. Now I'm getting to the outer parts of the web. And if you ever look at an actual spider web, which I look at them very closely because I freaking love spider webs, you'll see that the center is really concentrated, and then the outside it's kind of more spaced out. So I'm going to follow that same pattern. And I'm going to try maybe 7. I don't know. I lost count of how many I'm wrapping around this time. But it's nice to go with the numbers of the Fibonacci sequence, which is a growth pattern you find in nature, which is 0, 1, 1, 3, 5, 8. No, sorry. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 21, something else, 55. Just like, sorry, I'm being a nerd. I mean, like a good nerd. Anyway, I do want to say, one time I saw a spider web that was so big, it was a foot wide, and it was 2 feet tall. And it was in Prospect Park in Brooklyn. And I actually was scared of the spider, because I was like, I brought my face pretty close to it, and then I was like, I gotta step back because I really don't know what this spider is capable of. It's kind of terrifying. And I think there's a real power in a web. It shows you what someone can do, what something can do. It's like, it's a real accomplishment. So, just want to say that. I, like, literally felt fear of a spider that is, like, 1.5 inches big. I mean, probably not poisonous, but still scared me. Well done, spider. Well done. So yeah, now I'm just moving intuitively, like have less space here, so I'm just not doing as many wrappings there. I have a lot more here, so I'm gonna space out further. And that's where you want to get to. You want to get to the space where you're just doing it intuitively and you're not even thinking about it. That's when it gets really, really powerful, because that's the state that you want to be in, where you're in the flow and you're just grooving and just moving and it's just happening, and you're almost like on autopilot, being driven by the most beautiful parts of you, the intuitive parts of you, the parts of you that know how to coordinate things in the world that you don't even actually consciously know how to do. That's the magic part. That's why I call it witchcraft, is because the part that starts to act through you is the magical part. It's the powerful part. It's the part you want. All right, so I think this is gonna be my last wrapping around over to here. And I just want it to be, ooh, I want to do something special with the top. Okay, so this is my web, and what I want to do at the top here is do something a little special. So I want to do something kind of like this. Let's say, how can I want to wrap it up, because for me, like that upward, like if everything from this web comes up and connects upward, I think that symbolism is really nice. Generally, I don't believe like in the symbolism of like up is good and down is bad. I think that's kind of like simplistic and missing the point, which is that you can't have up without down. They're important. There's this importance of moving in both directions at the same time, which I'm not even going to get into. But I want it to like kind of, I want to create this triangle upward. Just feels right to me. So I'm just going to do it without thinking about it or explaining it. Nah. And I'm going to tie it right here, because that's how much string I have left. And I'm going to double knot it so that it's strong. I'm going to triple knot it because I made like kind of a triangle, and triangle has 3 sides, so I'm going to make 3 knots. And that's it. That's my web. So if you make a web, send me a picture of it. If you put it on social media, use the hashtag #tenderhuman, #webdesign. And if you don't want to put it on social media, just like email it to me, because that's still really fun and cool and possible. And I hope that you feel something. I hope that you feel as powerful as you want to. I hope that you feel like you can give what you have to give. And I hope you feel like you're connecting with the people who will support you in that.